Hey guys, welcome back to another video. So today I wanted to go ahead and revisit a video I did a while ago when I first made this channel, with that video being titled Lessons I Learned as an EMT. To be honest, looking back at it, I really don't think I did that video much justice whatsoever, and if I'm being real, I kinda just sounded like I just witnessed someone projectile shit in the Waffle House urinal with how soulless my voice was. So, this is gonna be a part 2 of that original video, and hopefully it's way better. Without further ado though, let's get into this. Alright, so first things first, let me go ahead and introduce myself and give you guys some background to any of you who may be newer to this channel. The dumbass currently speaking to you has been in the fire service for a few years now, and I originally started as a volunteer when I first got my firefighting certifications. After that point, I went ahead and got my EMT license when I realized that field medicine sounded pretty fucking cool. Little did I know though, I needed to be a paramedic before I got access to narcotics, so my dreams of bribing crackheads to fight each other gladiator style in my local Walmart parking lot was unfortunately put on a little bit of a hiatus. Who knows though, things can always change for the better. I guess we'll find out. But anyways, after running bullshit calls for a while and fucking around, later down the line I managed to land a career firefighting EMS position at a pretty big city department. I've been working for them for around a year now and I'm incredibly happy with where I am. But here's the thing though, there's still unfortunate parts about the job which I'm going to go ahead and talk about, so let's go ahead and get into this. So what's the first thing EMS has taught me? The answer is, I need to hug my loved ones at least a little bit tighter. Like especially over the last year, I've ran a crazy number of fucked up calls within an incredibly short period of time. And seeing people who are extremely young get fucked up beyond belief definitely leaves a mark on you to say the least. Right now, I'm going to go ahead and talk about a call that definitely stuck out to me a little bit so that maybe you can get the full perspective and maybe even immerse yourself a little bit when it comes to the scene. Alright, so around late spring, I get dispatched to a routine vehicle accident. Most of the times they tend to be fender benders without any injuries, but as we're driving down, it becomes more and more apparent that this call was a little bit different. In 99% of ambulances, we have something called a CAD, which allows us to see the call details from the dispatchers. Basically, they remain in contact with the callers and continuously update the details as we're dispatched. As I'm staring down at my computer, I see that the dispatcher is adding notes such as, one person entrapped, breathing status is unknown. Yep, this is definitely not just a fender bender. As my mind is racing along with the ambulance, I'm trying to figure out what I need, what I'm going to do, yada yada yada, and then before I know it, we're there. I see a giant ass truck rammed against a regular car with a fuck ton of intrusion where the driver was supposed to be. So at this point, I immediately run up and I see a young ass girl who couldn't have been more than 20, just curled up in the fetal position covered head to toe in blood. The doors at this point were fucked up beyond belief, so I couldn't open them, so I had to crawl through a broken window in order to get access to her. And when I did, she fortunately had a pulse, but she was completely unresponsive, which is a major fucking issue. I do what I can at that point and stabilize her neck because we didn't need her to be paralyzed on top of her already fucked up injuries. The rescue crew are actively cutting open her driver's side door so that we could get her out, and during that time, I just had to sit with her blood slowly dripping onto my watch and clothes. And at that point, I was just thinking about whether or not her parents even knew what happened, whether or not they knew how serious of a position their daughter was in, and what would happen if they lost their daughter at the hospital. This girl was tiny as fuck, and I couldn't help but see my sister in her. What if it was my family member that was in that driver's seat? What if it was my partner? What would I even fucking do? In an instant, she went from having a regular day driving back home to severe brain injury. And honestly, there probably would have been a very slim chance of recovery, or at least that's what I thought. Long story short, after telling her that it was going to be okay, we got the door popped off and slid her onto a backboard before transporting her in the ambulance. After the call, I remember going back to the station and I just looked at myself in the mirror and I saw the extent of the incident on my clothes. My black watch was now stained completely red alongside my clothes, but that's not what fazed me. What fazed me was the fact that this tiny woman who was barely an adult now had her life ripped away from her when she was just getting it started. And honestly, I didn't know what would happen to her. Over and over again, I imagined that it was my girlfriend in that seat, and I knew I would have never been able to recover if that were the case. It wasn't just one life that was destroyed that day, it was probably dozens. Although, fortunately though, we went on to get an update a few months later. Somehow, despite all of her injuries, she somehow managed to survive and was even conscious. That was relieving to hear, but the line between brain dead and conscious would have been far too close for comfort if that call played out any single different way. So here's what I want you to get out of this. Hug your fucking loved ones. Be careful on the roads for them because people genuinely don't understand how easy it is to die on the roadway. Because most of them aren't forced to confront death or severe injuries on the regular. It only takes a few seconds for your life to change forever, and you don't want to be left with the regret of leaving a little love off of the table by not holding them for an extra bit of time. This call had the best possible outcome, but that doesn't invalidate it because in the months that followed, there was so much more death under the same exact circumstances. Alright, so with that out of the way, let's move on to the next one. The next big lesson I learned was to not be a fucking idiot on the roads, and for the love of God, please wear your fucking seatbelt. I'm about to get pretty ranty here in a minute because I want you to understand just how fucking important it is to not be a fucktard on the road. Every single vehicle accident that I've basically been on that has resulted in severe injury or death all had a common theme. The people involved never had their seatbelt on. Even a few shifts ago, for instance, I literally had a vehicle accident where a guy got T-boned and had his neck basically turned into a noodle because he got ejected and broke it after slamming his head against the dash. Now, if he was wearing a seatbelt, that wouldn't have happened. People, especially nowadays, don't understand the fact that they're literally driving a several thousand-pound death machine to work every single day. And I'm telling you right fucking now, getting into any accident at greater than 40 miles per hour without wearing a seatbelt is going to fuck you up beyond belief. For instance, the little lady I talked about earlier wasn't even going that fast and took off her seatbelt right before attempting to turn into her driveway, yet was left with a severe brain injury that would have killed her if we didn't drive her to the hospital. I see videos of teens driving 100 miles per hour on the highway and I want to fucking scream at them. Was it worth burning alive in your car because you wanted to fucking look cool for a TikTok? Because let me fucking tell you, your charred corpse frozen in place reaching for your fucking skylight certainly doesn't maintain that vibe. Like, I recently had this poor kid drive home drowsy, he wasn't wearing his seatbelt and got partially ejected out of his windshield and was almost cut in half by it. He was pinned under his little car and was unable to move, and the entire time he was just straight up bleeding out in front of me, and the best thing I could do at that moment was just holding his hand and telling him that we were going to get him out. He was actively dying in front of me and was terrified out of the ass, and truth be told, I didn't think he was going to even make it. The point is though, had he been not ejected or wearing his seatbelt, he wouldn't have been ejected. It would have been infinitely more straightforward when it came to getting him out, and he wouldn't have been bleeding out in front of us. If he died, that would have fucked me up for a long ass time, but fortunately we managed to get him out in time, so at least I can take solace in that. Anyways, the point is, driving safe isn't really that hard. It takes 2 seconds to click in a seatbelt and avoid months of intensive rehab or thousands of dollars in funeral costs. And if you drive under the influence, you're a piece of shit. Don't speed because you're going to be late to your job, anyways, because guess what? If you fucking die, you're going to be late. And generally, just overall, be cognizant of everything that takes place on the roadway around you. For instance, one thing I refuse to do now is stay in between semi-trucks, and also, generally, I always assume the worst in every single driver. If you put your faith into that middle-aged wine mom going mock Jesus in her minivan down the highway in order to make it on time to her book club, then I'm sorry, you're in for a rough time. If you think that there's no possible way for somebody to do that unbelievably stupid fucking thing on the roadway, guess what? They're gonna do it. By assuming everyone is an idiot on the road, I have avoided so many needless crashes. So for the love of God, please do the same exact thing so you can come home safe. But yeah, drive safe, don't be stupid. Alright, so the last thing I learned here is the importance of being calm during chaotic situations. Generally speaking, panic makes things so much fucking worse when people, especially your patients, see that you're freaking out in front of them. When they see that you're calm, cool, and collected, they'll go ahead and place confidence in you and feel infinitely better during traumatic situations that they're actively going through. Like I said, with that kid who was nearly cut in half, as I was on the ground trying to treat him, it was pretty apparent that there wasn't much I could do. The car was basically in the way of pretty much everything, and he was actively being crushed. He knew that he was in an incredibly bleak situation, and when I came to terms with the position that I was in at that point, I went ahead and focused on calming him down the entire time. Basically, here's what I did. I held his hand and told him we were going to fucking get him out of there. I told him to squeeze as hard as he could, and I explained every little detail of what we were doing, and let him know that we weren't going to leave him. He relaxed a little bit more after hearing that, but again, every part of me thought that he was going to fucking die. I thought I was actively going to see the light fade away from his eyes at that moment. But honestly, I just refused to let him see that and lose hope for himself. And guess what? Him calming down allowed us to do our job a lot easier, and fortunately we were able to get him out and get him situated. Long story short though, after that call, we later found out that he did survive once we got him over to the hospital. In the face of chaos, you need to be strong. I know it's not fucking easy, and even now I fuck it up sometimes, but the best we can do at the end of the day is actually try. So strive to do the same thing. Like, you can either be a victim of your circumstances or be the driver for change. So make every single effort possible to be that driver and take control of the situation you're in. Alright, so with all that out of the way though, this does bring me to the end of this video. So to recap everything, hug your loved ones a little bit harder when you leave, wear your fucking seatbelt and don't be an idiot on the road, and lastly, be a beacon of strength amidst the chaos. I hope you all have a great day, and if you enjoyed the video, please consider liking or subscribing. Take care guys, I love you all, and until next time, take care.